Hi, welcome to another episode of Weld, where each week we explore different pathways available in the welding industry. This week, I'm coming to you from the Center of Excellence at ESAB inside of the Weld Cave with my main man, Kris Sherm. How are you,
sir.
Kris?
Oh, man, so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. It's like I saw you yesterday.
You did?
I know. Well, Kris, for people out there that don't know who you are, what you do here at ESAB, what do you do at ESAB?
So currently I'm the Global Business and Product Director for Manual Plasma Products.
Oh, manual plasma?
Manual plasma. So I've done manual plasma and cutting technologies most of my career.
A big struggle that everyone's having right now is training people or finding people.
Big time.
And so like implementing technology can kind of help close those gaps with things like pulse or, there's different advanced processes that people are using to get higher deposition. But with your equipment, it's like y'all kind of seem like you're always on that forefront of trying to just develop new things, right?
Yeah, what you just said is really key. So when we talk about the need in the market, and by the way, it's not just a local need of when we think about like North America or the U.S., and we've heard about welder shortages or labor shortages of people, skilled craft people that can go do welding, plumbing, etc. Yes, there's a major shortage. According to the AWS, it's like 350,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
Well, just welders. Just welders. And the reason that's so significant is because when I started in my career in the late 90s, it was over 100,000 welders, according to the AWS, and they were freaking out. Oh my gosh, we're short 100,000 welders. It's never gotten better. So
it's only gotten worse.
It's only gotten worse. So hopefully with today's climate and kind of the visibility that has been brought to the forefront in manufacturing, we're going to have a new influx of people, kids, even middle-aged folks are like, hey this is kind of interesting. I'd like to try that. I'd like to try welding. And the stigma is that, oh my gosh, it's really complicated or technical. And it is.
Yes.
However, what you just said about us doing things in development is to make machines, make systems, make processes that are much easier to learn because of how the machine interacts with you.
Yeah.
So I'm currently the Global Business Product Director for Manual Plasma. I'm implementing a lot of those same things on plasma equipment. But last year and the year before, I got to work with our heavy industrial welding side of the business and what you mentioned about pulse. The systems that we have also have screens and communication that comes out of them on simple HMI screens that communicate pictures or they communicate simple terminology so that you can train somebody much, much easier. It's not that everyone can weld, but certainly if you have a passion or an interest and you want to get into the welding industry, the machines today can make that a very real reality for you, and the learning curve is vastly shorter than it used to be.
With that easy part, you're going to get some flack from people out there in the industry. They're like, hey, man, I got my settings. I don't want you to change it. Like I can dial my own machine in.
18 and 180. I'm going to start there, right? 18 and a half, 180. I'll trim it a little bit. I'll dial that in.
Dial it in, get that heat set.
Right. So we do that as well, and so you can manually set if you really want to. That said, like the modern technology now is paying attention to far more things behind the background in we call them synergic lines, right? So the whole industry has kind of moved this way. Well, the more sophisticated your equipment is and the faster processing speed, just like your computer at home or your phone in your hand, right? Our newest welders, like a Warrior Edge, has a extremely fast processor. So fast that we're managing this individual droplets going into the weld. Not like guessing at it, like it's timed perfectly so that it pinches off and releases a droplet at the same time that we're peaking and flowing those waveforms.
Why would somebody want so much control over that?
So the individual welder doesn't need to know or want to know, but what they do care about is productivity, spatter, smoke. I remember selling gas technology when I worked for Air Liquide to improve your spray transfer. Forget the machine, like the gas, that we were so far back that just the gas alone, we were trying to make changes because the machine couldn't do it just by itself. So where you have to have like 85% or more argon to transfer into spray transfer, right? So, well, what happens when you got 88 or you mix that up a little bit or you customize the gas? So that's what we were doing 30 years ago. Well, then wire got better too. So we had wire manufacturers that like, man, if we have this coating on it or if we reduce the oils and the things that we use, man, we got a lot less smoke. The transfer is much smoother. The short arc sharper. The spray is sharper, right? But then the machines had to catch up. And think about your computer 30 years ago.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
It had a black and green screen, and I kept dying on the Oregon Trail.
See?
Yep.
Yes. Awesome game, by the way.
Great game.
So the welders were no different. So if you think back 30 years ago, you had transformer-based chopper technology on, off, right? Simple switches, think. That is not a modern welding machine. And so one of the technologies you talked about a second ago was pulse. Pulse has come a long way.
I know. It's becoming more prominent these days. I feel like people were really afraid of it because it was really complicated.
Yes.
Like, it was really hard to, like, manually programming pulse. Very difficult.
I love talking to you because, man, it brings back a lot of memories. I think like 15, 20 years ago, I remember sitting in front of a laptop next to a welding engineer who, he had to be the one to work the magic in the computer. And, we were paying top dollar. It's pretty amazing. So pulse technology, if we kind of go down that rabbit trail, that's what you started off one of the first comments with. And pulse technology, like if we rewind the clock even 10 years ago, pulse was more complicated to program, and as a welder, you had to understand certain idiosyncrasies of what you're trying to manage on the waveform. Nowadays, we're not doing that. We've actually spent time in the R&D lab managing the entire waveform across all of the different wire diameters, across the different materials, right? So think mild steel, stainless, aluminum. Those are the three easy ones to think about. But then you think about, okay, if I'm going to go weld mild steel and I've traditionally done short arc and just spray or kind of spray, if they're doing globular or they think they're doing spray, but they're just spattering everywhere. And you switch from those technologies or those process styles to pulse, your productivity gain is huge. And I have efficiency. I go from like 83% wire turning into a weld on, say, short arc to like 93% of the wire turning into a weld so I'm not losing those in BBs on the floor. I paid money for that wire. Switching into spray technology and same thing. Oh man, look at that. There's so much less sparks and stuff. So much less BBs going on the floor. Well, when you go from that to a pulse, it gets even better. So now you're going from the low 90s to the mid 90s potentially percent improvement, right, on your efficiency. No more BBs on the floor. It looks like almost just smoke coming off, no spatter.
Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you're trying to learn more about pulse, wire-fed processes, or anything like that and don't know where to start, a great place would be the American Welding Program. They have all kinds of different courses online for you to learn at your own pace. And guess what? Because you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, you can save 20% by using Weld20 at checkout. Go see everything they have for you to start learning today at AmericanWeldingProgram.org. Now, let's get back to the chat.
So back to productivity, short arc, you're in that magical 180 inches a minute, right? Right. But if I go to spray, I'm going to be like, that's amperage. I'm going to improve that wire feed speed up to like 300 inches a minute. Oh, whoa. 180 inches a minute, 300 inches a minute. Man, you're pouring the weld metal in there. So if you want the same weld profile, right, the same bead size, if I go slower, what happens to my bead size, right? All of a sudden
You get a big old slug.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's wasted material.
Wasted material. So now I'm over welding. So you need to travel faster. So again, back 15 years ago, I had to you got to move. Like, I know, but I'm used to moving 5 inches a minute. No, you can move 10, right? You went from 180 inches a minute wire feed speed to 300. Well, now with pulse, 350, 375, 400, I'm pushing it up. And then at ESAB, last couple of years, we incorporated pulse on top of spray. So now you can hear it too. I know you're a musician.
Yeah.
You could hear the frequencies. So you hear a with the spray and you hear a with the pulse right over top of it.
It's pretty wild.
It's cool, isn't it?
I'm not going to brag, but I did run 700 inches
700?
per minute. Yeah.
Were you doing that out in the lab?
Yeah, out in the lab.
Oh my gosh.
Jessica was like, try this hat, man. And I was like, all right, let's get after it.
That's
and it
awesome.
Cooked like on an inch plate.
See?
Like just a T-joint on an inch plate, and we were just
pouring it in there.
Yeah, but you got to
you have to move.
You got to stay at the leading edge of the puddle. That's for sure.
That's true. So in Pulse especially, and for sure that new speed process we have, I say it's new. It's like a year and a half old, but we keep improving different flavors of that. But your wire has to stay. So if that's your weld puddle, your wire has to stay at the leading edge of that weld puddle as you go along. If the wire all of a sudden is back in the center of the weld puddle, you're going to get spatter and over welding, and it's not going to look as good, right?
And you might dig a hole.
Exactly. You don't want to do that either.
That's the big thing I learned.
Yes. Yeah, because it's a lot of heat. So 700 inches a minute, inches per minute wire feed speed relates to the amperage that you're pouring in, and the volts is what flattens or shallows out that weld profile, right? So if I increase my voltage, I'm going to flatten it into the weld. So that's what people want to dial it in.
The benefits of Pulse, you're talking about waste of material and productivity and everything, but it's also like your heat, it's like, it's really good for the heat input.
Absolutely.
I know we're pouring a ton in there, but it's regulating it.
It goes a little counterintuitive to you. If I'm putting more volts and more amps and man, I'm pouring the weld wire in there, surely I'm putting more heat into the base material. You're actually not. So travel speed going faster is your friend as far as the base material in that heat affected zone that happens.
What level of machine am I going to start finding Pulse in? Is that something that I start seeing it in a lot of machines these days? So, but like a lot of people, they think Pulse, that's going to cost me an arm and a leg,
So yes, it's more expensive as far as acquiring the machine. No, it's totally not more expensive to what really matters to you as a manufacturer. As a manufacturer, what you care about is dollars per foot of weld or dollars per day that you're spending to manufacture said item, your cost of goods sold. That's what matters. So I'll pick on a particular industry, like it's easy to visualize a trailer. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of welds on a trailer. Well, if you go from 180 inches a minute short arc, which you shouldn't be doing on trailer manufacturing anyway, but I've seen it.
It happens.
Right? It happens. To spray transfer, but now I've run the risk of, I'm over welding. I'm burning holes in material. My guys are undercutting. I'm having to grind a bunch, whatever. So then you're wasting money. You're wasting time. You're having to do multiple cleanups. I got guys saying, hey, you sell me a box of Hanning Spatter. Come on, man. Let's look at your process and see where we can gain true productivity so that at the end of the day, you're not putting out one trailer a day, you're putting out 1.5 or 2, right? And the only way you can do that is if I put down more pounds per minute or pounds per hour with a good solid weld that I don't have to clean up afterwards, right? I put down a weld and there's not a bunch of BBs everywhere. There's not undercut that I'm like, I'm creating a stress point that trailer's going to break. Oh, don't do that, right? So your weld profile matters. So then if I can go from 180 inches a minute to 300 inches a minute to 450 inches a minute, if I put speed down, holy smokes. Now I'm putting out 2 trailers a day, and every trailer I make, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the profit margin is on that. Dude, you just paid for that welder it's measured in days and weeks, not months or years. Oh, but I already have a welding machine. It's, 10 years old. It does a fine job. Yeah, it is, but it's costing you dearly.
Yeah.
Dearly, right? So spend a little coin, upgrade, and that day, your productivity through the roof. And then your welders are going to be like, oh, whoa, I want to use that machine.
Yeah.
That machine, that's way better.
Everyone wants to use the new machine, Everyone wants to use that fancy one.
Yeah, and you can use that to your advantage. Like as a manufacturer, I was at this one manufacturer year and a half ago. It's about 18 months ago. dude, he had a great way of analyzing and team working his team. He had basically the high school. He was a big football fan, so he said, "Okay, you want to play high school football? You want to play college football? You want to play in the pros?" And basically, he had divided his teams into those kind of capabilities. It's not a problem that you want to play high school ball. That's all I'm capable of, by the way, right? So as far as football goes, I'm capable of high school ball.
I was a high school guy too.
Right? I'm capable of flag, actually. That's what I'm
These days, definitely. I can play some flag football.
So if you want to make an extra $3 an hour, $5 an hour, whatever it was, you can play college ball. But if you want to play in the pros and you want to make the big money, because everybody thinks, oh man, the welders, man, they can make some big money. And you can. You can make some big money welding.
But you got to play in the pros.
But you need to play in the pros. So if you're going to play in the pros, you need pro material. You need to act like a pro, set up like a pro, be efficient, right? All of that thing. And that's really good for your manufacturing team.
It's hard to find information on what machine is going to be best for me. But like, if I wanted to learn more about speed for like my shop and everything, where do I go to find that information?
Yeah, if you go to just ESAB.com, that's one source. We make a ton of videos on YouTube and we post them there. But ESAB.com and depending on what country you're into, you can navigate to your country and then navigate to material that's actually mostly in your language. So that's helpful as well.
Well, and then as far as like getting good information, it's like if I wanted to learn more, not just about like the different machines and everything, but like what kind of resources do you point people to when they want to learn about these types of processes?
So you raise a good point of what information is trustworthy, right? So for sure, if you stick to your major brands, ESAB's one of them, right? They're going to share great information with you. If you don't recognize the name of the brand, there's a chance like some of their material might just have been invented based off the average of the internet. Yeah. Well, you get what you pay for there to that extent. Now that said, there is a ton of education available. We have something called ESAB University Online. Dude, I think there's hundreds of trainings on there. Hundreds. During COVID, that was actually good for us in the training department.
That's when I got in the welding world.
Is it really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you transitioned from a different industry altogether to...
I was a musician. I had 6 months of gigs, and then the next day I had 0 month of gigs.
I knew you were a musician. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like...
Welcome to the welding world. You'll never escape, by the way. I've tried to escape once or twice, but but I'm too passionate, too, about the technology itself. I love welding. Just fell into it through education, but I always had an interest in it from one of my first jobs at 17 years old. Got exposed to welding.
I'm a fan, man. Like, I've always been super interested in it, and I have one of the coolest jobs in the world.
Yes,
I have to say.
You really do. You get to talk to a lot of cool people.
Yeah, I get to talk to cool people and play with cool toys.
There you go.
That's what we've been doing this week.
Man, that is awesome. That's awesome. No, so go to ESAB University. There are lots of resources online that you can educate yourself with. I had a friend of mine, his son, never welded a day in his life, but he was just addicted to watching the YouTube videos on welding. So I pointed him to some of our materials, and I said, don't have to be completely just us, but for sure, stick to the major brands. They're going to teach you some things and techniques and whatnot. And so sure enough, he did. And about 4 months later, I pulled him over to my shop, and we went through every process. Dude, that kid could weld. It was awesome. It was like watching videos of learning how to ride a bike, and you can't ride a bike perfect first time, but if you have somebody that can mentor you a little bit and stand over your shoulder and help. I introduced him just to the physicality of welding, but he had a lot of it in his head already from attending those training classes I pointed him to, and man, that kid could weld really, really well by the end of that first day. It was nuts.
The internet's a beautiful thing.
It is. So there's good stuff out there. There's average stuff out there. And just be aware when you're talking anything technical, right? It's probably going to be just the standard average of what you think you'd find as far as average. So don't trust it completely unless you're getting it from a trustworthy source. That's kind of my take on that.
I always tell people, check out a couple different things, and then make your own decisions. But
yeah.
Well, Kris, I really enjoyed chatting with you. It's always fun, and thanks for having us out here all week.
I'm so glad you came.
Oh, it is a center of excellence, and I will say it was an excellent trip.
Good.
Thanks again, sir.
Beau, pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Weld. And if you want to learn more about ESAB products or Pulse or anything that we talked about today, check the show notes down below or come out here to the Center of Excellence and check it out yourself.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.